Hello, friends and family. This is Joe Pometto, Joe the lawyer. Today, we're going to talk about how to calculate the settlement amount for the client in a personal injury case. This is a common question that I get. I do personal injury, and a lot of my clients come to me at the beginning of a case and ask how we're going to determine how much money they get to take home from a settlement. Of course, that is the central question, but there are other parties to be paid in that settlement money. So today I want to break down the process of determining what the client's settlement amount is. And in the process, you're going to learn what the settlement amount is for all the parties involved. But, before we dig in, thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer. I'm attorney Joe Pometto. Here we discuss legal topics. I give legal information out to the masses, and we also talk about fun things that have to do with the legal profession. If you like my content, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. That's a free way to support the show. Also, I have an email list. It's in the description below. Sign up for my email list. Get a free PDF on what to do when the police pull you over. Joining my email list or subscribing, liking, and commenting on my channel are all great and free ways to support me. If you do these things, okay, on YouTube, it will cause me to get a higher ranking. YouTube will reward me in turn, and it will incentivize me to make more videos. As far as the email list is concerned, that will give you updates on all my new content. You'll get free PDFs, free stuff. If you don't like it, just unsubscribe in a couple of weeks. But give it a try. Now, before we dig in, let's do my classic, my favorite, the one and only, the same time sip. I have here my favorite beverage. It's Diet Coke. I know that's sad. Actually, coffee and water are my favorite beverages. But I have here a Diet Pepsi. It's in a glass. You may have a drink in a cup, in a container, in a bottle, in a can. It doesn't matter where you got it from. All it matters is that you have it, you're here, and you're ready to do the same time sip with me. Cheers. That is delicious. So let's talk about settlement amounts in personal injury cases. I'm going to dive right in, and we're going to start with a whole number. Let's say a client came to me, I took their case, I litigated it to a certain point, and then me and the attorney for the other side, which is usually an insurance company, we sit down, we talk on the phone, and we come to an amount of, let's say, $100,000 to settle the case for my client. We're going to assume that this person was maybe in a car accident and had to have back surgery because somebody else rear-ended their vehicle. And we decided to settle the case for $100,000. How is that cost divided up? Let's start off with the attorney's fee. So in personal injury cases, they're almost always going to be on what's called a contingency. As Edgar Snyder says around here in Pittsburgh, there's no fee unless we get money for you. Contingency means that the attorney only gets a fee if he wins the case, either gets a verdict and gets money that way or gets a settlement from the other party. Because the fee is contingent on settling, if the attorney takes the case and drops it at some point, he does not get paid. If the attorney takes the case to trial and loses, he does not get paid, and the client walks away without getting any money, but without owing any money either. So the attorney is taking on some risk, all right? And that's why the attorney's fees in personal injury cases generally are 25% to 1/3, which is 33.3%, up to 40%, even 45%. Okay, so the typical that you see very often is 1/3. Though there's a lot of attorneys in Pittsburgh going for 25%. In more risky cases, the attorneys go higher. It's 40, 45%. Not unusual at all. You need to talk to your attorney about what this fee is. Okay, but it's a contingent fee. It means it is contingent, which means they only get a fee if something happens. That's what a contingency is. And that something happening is the settlement of a case or a verdict and a payout of money. Because the attorney takes on that risk, his percentage is a little higher than you may see whenever a client is paying an attorney just out of pocket. And that's because the attorney could put in days, months, years into a case and walk away with $0. You're going to lose some cases. Attorneys are going to lose some cases. So you get that 100, let's say you signed up with an attorney. He's taking a 1/3 fee, which is fairly typical in the industry. You get a $100,000 settlement. All right, that's $33,000. Okay, that's going to the attorney. All right, 33.333 really, if you want to break it down. So it's $33,333. All right, and that leaves about $7,777 left for the client. Okay, but the client does not get all of that money. On top of the attorney's fee coming out, another thing the attorney does or the law firm does when they take on the risk of a personal injury case on a contingency is they cover the costs of the litigation up front. Okay, this is a good system because it allows attorneys to take on personal injury cases for very poor clients, people who have no money at all. They could never pay the costs of the litigation. Some of the typical costs of litigation are filing the case in court. There's a filing fee. Getting service on the defendant. You have to hire a sheriff in Pennsylvania to serve a defendant. You have to pay for depositions. You have to pay for medical records. You may pay an investigator to go and take pictures or interview witnesses. Additionally, an attorney may have to pay expert witnesses to write reports and possibly testify at trial. All of that, some cases you might have $1,000 in costs. Some cases you may have $20,000 in costs. So those costs come out of the client's percentage. And ultimately, the client is bearing the costs of the value of the costs. However, the attorney fronts them. So the attorney is going to put $20,000 out of pocket to litigate the case, and then they get that $20,000 out of the client's percentage, not out of their 1/3. The alternative to that is that the client pays the costs as the case goes forward. Then they could keep their full percentage, okay, but it really makes no difference in the end. So the client is going to want to have this sort of setup. So in our scenario, $100,000 settlement, $33,333 goes to the attorney. Let's say $10,000 in costs. Okay, so that's $77,000 that the individual roughly that the client was going to take is now reduced to about $67,000. And those are the typical, that's a typical breakdown of a settlement in a personal injury case. Those are going to be the three main payouts. Is going to be the client, the attorney, and also the costs. And the costs go back to the attorney for their out-of-pocket expenses. Okay, so really at the end of the day, the client is sort of paying for the costs. But again, part of being on a contingency is the attorney bears the risk and they pay the fees up front. So this is something when it comes to the cost that a lot of clients I've talked to don't always realize that that's coming out of their percentage. It's going to be in every attorney fee agreement, but some attorneys don't explain that to the clients. So if you have a personal injury or you are ever in a personal injury case and an attorney drops a fee agreement for you to sign, make sure you discuss the costs with that attorney so that you can have a better idea in your head what your final take home would be. So here in this so we got $100,000 case. Let's do the math real quick here. We got $100,000 case. 100,000, 1, 2, 3. Okay. divided by 3 equals 33,000 times 2. Okay. I'm sorry. I said 77,000. That's 66,666. That is the 2/3 that the client gets. So on a 1/3 contingency, all right, the attorney gets 33,333. The client gets 66,666. The client's taking home 2/3. If the costs and fees were $10,000 that the attorney paid to litigate the case, okay, you're then going to subtract $10,000 from that 66, and the client would get $56,666. Okay, that's a lot different from $100,000 in the client's pocket. And attorneys will go around and say, I got a $100,000 settlement, da 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 da. The clients or potential clients will hear that and think that's $100,000 in their pocket. It's not. This is important to know before you go in and before you work with a lawyer so that you understand and there are no misconceptions. The really good lawyers will explain this to you. I explain it to my clients, all right? And you can ask the attorney about it. You want to read the fee agreement that they give you, all right, so that you know exactly how much money you'll get. There is one other thing you need to know is sometimes in personal injury cases, there are liens. And a lien, for example, would be if the insurance company that paid your medical bills seeks a portion of recovery through the settlement. So they may have a right to seek what they paid for your medical bills through the settlement. That also comes out of the settlement amount. There are child support liens. In the state of Pennsylvania, if I have a client who has unpaid child support and they get a personal injury settlement, they have to use that money first to pay out the child support. It's very important to know what the lien amounts are before you settle a case because those percentages are going to eat into the final settlement, and that's not going to come out of the attorney's amount. That's going to come out of the client amount too. So in a scenario that we talked about, all right, the attorney already took $33,333. Then there were $10,000 in litigation costs. Let's say there was a $5,000 lien from unpaid child support. Now that $56,000 that the client was getting is reduced to $51,666. Liens can come from medical bills that were paid by insurance. It can come from child support, Medicare, Medicaid. Most often, it's going to be medical related, and people may have their bills paid in a variety of manners, and then they have to pay that back some way or somehow. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something. Remember, personal injury cases are taking on a contingency. That means that the attorney only takes a fee if he gets a settlement. If the attorney loses the case, the client doesn't have to pay anything. The contingency basis is the reason that attorneys' fees are higher in personal injury cases, maybe 25%, 1/3, 40%, 45%. The costs are put up by the attorney up front, but then come out of the client's portion of the settlement. And the same is true of the lien. You want to know what all these numbers are before you settle the case so that you know exactly what the payouts are, and you may want to ask for more money because of the particular payouts. Thank you for tuning in to Joe the Lawyer. I hope you learned something today. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Sign up for my email list. Get a free PDF on what to do when you're pulled over by the police. These are free ways to support my show. Thank you very much. Tune in again soon.